So no one told you life was gonna be this way.
Welcome to Amusing Jews, where we celebrate Jewish contributors and contributions to American popular culture. I'm Jonathan Friedmann.
And I'm Joey Angelfield.
Producer-engineer Mike Tomren is working somewhere behind the scenes. Amusing Jews is a project of Adat Chaverim, Congregation for Humanistic Judaism, the Jewish Museum of the American West, and Atheists United Studios. Hey, Joey. Confession time. I've never watched an episode of Friends, the hit NBC sitcom that ran from 1994 to 2004. I was certainly aware of it, I just never watched it. Still, like just about everyone else, I knew the infectious theme song. Not just because hearing it was my cue to change the channel, but because I listened to the whole song before I changed the channel. It's a great song, with or without friends.
We're delighted to talk with Michael Skloff, a composer best known for I'll Be There For You, the theme song for Friends. His music is heard on many films and TV shows, as well as on the stage, in concert halls, and even in synagogues. Michael, welcome to Amusing Jews.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
So, how did you get involved in a life of music?
I started at a very young age, and I was fairly single-minded about it. Ever since I can remember, I've been loving music and playing the piano from a young age. And then went to college for it, got a bachelor's degree in music composition, and then worked in New York for a while, and then ended up in Hollywood and writing music for television after being in New York for about 10 years.
Was the Broadway to television pipeline a thing in those days, or how did you sort of make it all work?
It wasn't really a thing. I found personally Hollywood a hard nut to crack on my own, but my collaborators in New York, my musical theater collaborators, are the creators of Friends. And we all moved out here together. Marta Kaufman was my wife at the time, and we have 3 children together, all grown, and we also have 2 grandchildren. And so they started writing television shows out here, and I was their composer. And so I would very luckily be asked to write theme songs for shows they did. And we did a handful of shows out here, and Friends being the one that kind of eclipsed all the others. Although there was a really popular show on HBO called Dream On, and I got an Emmy nomination for that theme song, which was very, very nice.
So it sounds like it was great to have friends to get you into the business.
Yes. And it's challenging to, I find it challenging to have worked for anyone else, actually. But I feel really blessed. I mean, that was just an amazing partnership that I had, and the way it worked out for me was really wonderful.
I'll Be There For You sits pretty high in the pantheon of iconic television themes. Do you remember how you came up with it?
Yes, I remember getting inspired after I read the script, and this is before they had a cast or anything. I had to get in the car and go and pick up my son from nursery school, and turned on the radio, and the Beatles song Paperback Writer came on. And suddenly I felt, oh my God, that is the perfect energy and feeling for this show. It's just, the script was wonderful. and it just fired my imagination immediately. And when I heard that song, I was like, that's it's got to feel like the Beatles, and it's got to feel like, for me, growing up in the '60s, Saturday morning watching the Monkees on television, and those were sort of my two inspirations that came together in this song.
That's really interesting. This morning I was driving around listening to Black Sabbath as I do, and on the album Master of Reality, the song After Forever has a lick in there with the guitar and the drums and things that kind of sounds oddly like the Friends theme. I don't know if that was serendipitous because I knew I would be talking to you, but it was just kind of strange to hear Black Sabbath playing a little bit of the Friends.
I think maybe one of the reasons the song um, has become beloved is that it's reminiscent of a lot of things. It's not really deliberately trying to be, but my influences have all come through there. And I don't think any of the licks or melodies or anything are necessarily um, so unique that you've never heard them before. I mean, and again, I think that's the point. I think that's why people have enjoyed it because there's something, I don't know how to put it any other way, something comforting about it almost.
Enjoying the show? Click like and subscribe. In the music business, you're fortunate to have one hit song. I'm not saying you're a one-hit wonder, but what's it been like living with the Friends theme for over 30 years?
It's really hard to describe. It is kind of surreal. I'll be, walking around in the department store and the Friends theme will come on and it's really strange that I have this probably one of the most personal connections to that song. And at the same time, it feels like it doesn't belong to me at all. It feels like it belongs to the world. And those two feelings happen at the same time. And but again, I feel so blessed to have that unique relationship with this phenomenon in a sense.
Yeah, I think it might be because I've never actually seen the show, but whenever I see someone with a Friends shirt, with the logo on the shirt, the song starts to play in my head.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, no, I mean, the show is, way more huge than the song. I mean, it has touched so many lives and internationally. Actually, it was outside of the United States, the first place that I believe it became a phenomenally popular show was Israel, and then it just kept on going.
Yeah, I was also going to say in your defense, Michael, it's a little bit like we interviewed a couple pair of brothers who wrote a book about Abe Saperstein, who founded the Harlem Globetrotters, and it's like, well, yeah, the Harlem Globetrotters are a little bit bigger than Sweet Georgia Brown, and yet, the song is a big part of the phenomenon, and I think the Friends theme song is a big part of what makes Friends Friends.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I wouldn't disagree with you. I think it's inextricable from that.
I'm wondering, too, I can't help it, but when I hear the theme song, and I often am singing it to my wife or in the car, the 5 claps in there, like, did you know that was gonna be a hook? Did you know I mean, because I think that's probably what really sets the song off in a way.
It's actually 4 claps.
Oh.
It's funny because there was a bit on Jimmy Fallon with Matt LeBlanc a number of years ago where they were having this argument about is it 4 claps or 5 claps, and it's so funny.
How many times do they clap in the Friends theme song?
Oh, 5.
Oh, no, it's actually 4.
What? No.
Yeah.
It's 5. I've heard it like 1,000 times.
Yeah, well, no, it's actually 4.
And no one told you life was gonna be this way.
No, I told you life's gonna be this way.
It's 5.
4!
So you can conclusively say once and for all that it actually is 4 claps in the
It
Friends
is 4
theme
claps
song.
because I was there clapping.
Yeah.
They're my claps along with maybe 2 other people.
Well, and I'll say as a former, high school band musician, I think that the non melodic parts in music, the notes that are X'd through are sometimes the most iconic. So did you know that the four claps were gonna be such a hit of the
No,
song?
no, uh, it was completely by mistake. It was not planned to have claps. So if I could tell the story briefly, I made a demo recording of the song before we even hired the Rembrandts to sing it and perform it, of which they brought so much, I mean, incredible, wonderful spirit and musicality to the song. Uh, but before them, it was just me and a guitarist that I was working with, a hired, and virtual instruments to create sort of a fake band demo. Well, the timing was going to be the same because we use a click track. So the producers of the television show started editing the opening title sequence using my demo before we recorded the final with the Rembrandts. And in my demo were fake drums in the place where claps ultimately ended up, fake drums that went do 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 like that. And so, but of course, I thought that was like a stupid thing. So I just wanted the Rembrandts to just do their thing and have a wild, wonderful time with it. And the producers got back to me and said, "Where are those four hits?" And I'm like, "What four hits?" And they said, "Well, we cut the picture really fast there, like picture, 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 picture. We need those four hits." So we went back in the studio bleary eyed the next day because we had to deliver it for broadcast. And working with my engineer friend, Carrie Butler, and we're scratching our heads going, well, do we put in fake drums or do we bring in live tom-toms and I just hit them with sticks to try to and it just didn't work with the track. It sounded superimposed. And then Carrie said, well, why don't we do hand claps? And I was like, nah, that sounds cheesy, hand claps. And he's like, I think it'll be good, hand claps, And I was like, all right, well, we don't have any other solutions, so let's do it. So we put the hand claps in, mixed it all together. And then one night, I'm on the set of Friends, and as they're introducing the cast, and the cast is running out to take a bow in front of the audience, because there's like 500 people that watch each taping. And they played the theme song as the cast is coming out. And the show had only been on the air maybe one or two episodes. But the crowd was really excited to see the cast, and the song is playing, and at the point where the hand claps come in, the entire 500 people go, and I was like, I couldn't believe it, not mortified, mystified, amazed that something like this had caught fire. We never could have predicted it.
It's to use a Jewish word, it was meant to be. It was beshert.
Well, and it's funny, it's a micro moment of how we never, when you set out to make something, whether it's a song or a television show, you're just doing the best work you can. You don't do it with any plan of we're going to make a hit. So the hand claps took an okay song and made it interactive with the audience, and I think that helped make it special. And then, the show became huge, and it's completely out of our control when these things happen.
Yeah, it's true in music that it's the little things that separates the good music from the great music. And what you're describing is those claps sort of elevated the whole experience to greatness.
Well, thank you for that. I don't quite uh, agree with that statement about good to great. It just it it helped it. It made it special in some way.
As you mentioned, the theme you wrote for the 90s HBO sitcom Dream On is also very memorable. Was that your first big break?
Yes, that was the first theme song that I wrote for any television show. We had just moved to Los Angeles from New York, um, and when that show got picked up, Marta and David created that show, and I had this instrumental theme that I'd been playing around with, and they wanted to go with that. I tried a couple of things and they were like, no, maybe not this, maybe not that. And then I played this theme and they were like, yeah, that's fun. That feels right. And I was blown away to be nominated for an Emmy Award for that. That was incredible.
Yeah, it's a terrific piece of music. And I was wondering too, if there's a lot of deliberation in the formation of such a song, whether it should have lyrics or just be instrumental, or is there like a decision around that, or is it just a feel?
I think it's the latter. There were no like roundtable discussions about, well, what should this be? It was really like, here's the show, Michael, bring us something you think would work. And I tried that, and I tried something that was sort of a cappella vocals, sort of like almost like Manhattan Transfer-y early on, that I thought was kind of fun, but it didn't quite have the I don't know, the spirit and the sexiness of that instrumental theme.
It's like a whimsical sexiness.
Right, it's got a kind of a wink to it. It has a little bit of a smile to it, yeah.
You co-produced and arranged the vocals for Randy Newman's songs in the stop-motion masterpiece, James and the Giant Peach. Did you get to work closely with Randy?
That was an amazing experience. It was such a privilege to work with him. Frankly, he and I didn't spend a lot of time together. He would record the songs because it's a musical. There's a number of songs in the movie. So I would go to his house, and he would play the songs, and we'd record them onto cassette tapes. That's something you wouldn't know about. And then I would take them, and my job was to work with the script and see the point of the song in relation to the scene, and then vocal arrange the song, because it was just him singing onto a tape all by himself, all the different characters and what they would who would sing what and how they were contributing, and work out vocal harmonies and things like that where it was appropriate. It was such a dream job. It was so wonderful. I got to work with such a wonderful cast, and the folks at Disney were really wonderful to work with because we toured around. We recorded here, we recorded in San Francisco, we recorded in New York, and we recorded in London. And it was just wonderful, wonderful experience. Randy is hilarious. I was invited to come to the scoring session with the full orchestra. And he's conducting his own score because he scored the whole thing along with writing the songs. And they play through one music cue, and it's the first time the orchestra's reading it, and they're incredible musicians. I mean, we have the best musicians in this town. And he says, "Okay, everybody, that was good. That was good. That was a good first time through. Let's try it again without all the shittiness." I just fell out. I'm just like, only he could get away with that because he's so wry and so brilliant and funny.
You've had a long and varied musical career. Are there other projects or moments that stand out in particular?
So for synagogues, I wrote, I set the Kedusha prayer, and that has really taken off in an unexpected way. And so for the past, gosh, at least 10 years, maybe more, it's now sung in synagogues all over the country. I sometimes think of it as like my Jewish Friends theme song, because I get pulled aside sometimes when I go to a synagogue, that's not my own, which is Temple Israel of Hollywood. And I'll go to even local synagogues here, or even when I go, if I'm traveling east to see family, and I'll go, and they find out what my name is, and they go, "Oh, did you write Kedusha?" And I went, "Yeah." And they went, "Oh my God, we sing it here all the time. We love that." And I was like, it's an amazing feeling. Amazing.
Yeah, to be a known quantity in very different musical fields.
Yeah. Yeah, those two different musical fields, yeah, they couldn't be more different, except that, I think in the Jewish world, especially in the reform movement or progressive movement, there's a lot of pop sounding music in it. And some of it works better than others, but that's just the way that goes. That's true, and That's true in the pop field, you know. So that's, it has to be true in the Jewish pop field or pop music field, sacred music field as well. When you're doing that, when you're sort of bringing in popular styles.
Yeah, speaking of that, I often think of the relationship, at least in those days when Friends was on, between the viewer and the TV being kind of a sacred trust, And in that context where, the couch is the pews and the altar is the television, as I sometimes say. Like the theme song for Friends is itself kind of a sacred melody.
It's interesting. I think music can be a very high form of prayer. I think it can elevate one's spiritual experience. And it might be a stretch for some people to think of the elation that some of them feel when the Friends theme song comes on, or any other song that they love comes on. But I think that's what we're trying to go for in the synagogue as well, is to tap into that experience, and try to lift people up with the music. And I think there's a lot of writing, from Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav and other people that say that music is the highest form of prayer, especially wordless music and niguns. When you go beyond words, that's when you're really opening yourself up to potentially access something much more expansive and much more powerful. When my son, who's also a musician, and he's an adult, successful drummer, musician, producer here in LA, and he tours and he does a lot of recording sessions. But when he was about 10 or 11 years old, I took him to see Paul McCartney at what was called the Staples Center at the time. And it was my first time seeing Paul McCartney as well. And towards the end of the concert, we had a truly religious experience. He started singing Hey Jude. And when it got time, and everyone's on their feet, and it got to the na 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 section at the end of Hey Jude, and we're all holding each other. And we're just singing na 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 na. And I look over, and there's tears streaming down my 10-year-old's face. And I felt it too. And it made me start to cry as well. And I realized this is spirituality. This is a spiritual moment.
The music business isn't easy. Did you learn any important lessons, any do's and don'ts along the way?
I don't know. I was going to say, be true to yourself. Don't try to write music you think other people want. Write the music you think is the right music. When you're writing music for television shows, it's a service profession. So you are trying to please the people that are hiring you to do the work. Otherwise you lost the gig and you won't get hired again, possibly. So, but I think in order to do your best work, you have to really feel it. You have to really feel it's right for yourself and not create something that you think they're going to like, even if you don't like it. You have to like it.
Words to live by. Thank you, Michael, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. Nice meeting you guys.
And to our audience, now back to your regularly scheduled lives.
Amusing Jews is here to amuse you. If you like being amused, go ahead and click like and subscribe.